In 2014, hiker Kenny Veach posted this comment to YouTube. After some hassling from other commenters, Kenny uploaded a video of his own, simply titled M Cave Hike.
Well, here I am on my hike up here in the mountains north of Las Vegas.
What follows are 20 minutes of hiking in the Sheep Mountains, north of Las Vegas. Sparse shrubs, jagged rock, deep, narrow caves dotting the hills, but he doesn't find the M-shaped cave. Shortly after the video went up, Kenny stopped commenting. His girlfriend couldn't reach him. Search and rescue went out and found his cell phone by the abandoned mineshaft from the video. Kenny Veach was never heard from again. What happened to Kenny? And why do our imaginations run wild at the thought of someone vanishing in the wilderness? What is it about remote, untamed areas that strike such a deep chord of fear in us all? Might there be more to fear than just the elements? Welcome to Nothing is Revealed. I'll be honest, I came into this thinking I'd sensationalize this man's disappearance for dramatic effect and to segue into an episode about fear and conspiracy. But this mystery has an answer, a tragic one. But first, let's honor the man himself. Just listen to him in this video.
Hey bud, how you doing? I'm just gonna take your picture here. He's neat looking.
In another life, he could have been a Bear Grylls type on Man vs. Wild, or a Steve Irwin, a daring naturalist with a love of landscapes and animals alike. According to his girlfriend Sheryon, Kenny had an impeccable taste for home decor and interior design. He'd recently quit his job to try and pursue this passion full time, but it just wasn't paying the bills, and money was running out. Kenny battled depression for many years, and this failed business didn't help. Sheryon worried it might drive him to take his own life. In fact, Kenny's father had committed suicide when Kenny was in his 20s. Sheryon brought up her concerns, and Kenny was surprisingly open about his suicidal thoughts. According to him, if he did decide to take his own life, no one will ever find me. This is why Sheryon doesn't think Kenny had an accident. She believes he finally did it, and kept his word about not being found. And if she believes that, that's a good enough answer for me. But still, as she says, she'll always carry a special place of love in her heart for Kenny Veach. Out of respect for Kenny, Sheryon, and the Veach family, I won't dramatize the possibilities as I originally intended. I won't bombard you with conspiracy theories about secret government facilities in the desert, or a man faking his own death. But the way the disappearance of Kenny Veach captivated the mystery communities online got me thinking, why does this particular brand of the unknown frighten us? Is it the nature itself, or that the nature might be hiding something sinister? Just out of reach, on the outskirts of our safe societies. Let's put on our tinfoil hats for just a moment. What is the first thing that comes to mind when I think of someone going missing in a cave? What's the first thing that comes to mind when someone goes missing in the woods? What about in the hills? Now you can probably guess that this isn't real. These are Hollywood creations, yet the myth persists. It's permeated our collective culture, our nightmares. Is there any truth to it? Humans that are so remote and detached from society that they become monsters? Let's investigate. Who better to start with than Wes Craven himself, legendary horror writer and director behind the original The Hills Have Eyes. Craven was interviewed in 2006 as a producer on a remake of that film. As a longtime horror fan, I was shocked to learn that the film was loosely based on historical fact. Craven was browsing through the New York Library archives when he found an article about the Sawney Bean family. As the legend went, in 1500, Alexander Bean eloped with a cruel, vicious woman to the coast of Scotland. There they lived, undetected in a coastal cave for 25 years. The two had many children and then many grandchildren. And if you think the math doesn't add up there, believe me, it doesn't. And that's just one revolting detail of the story. The Bean clan was said to ambush and rob people at night, who they then brought back to the cave to be dismembered and cannibalized. Eventually, they were caught by a manhunt ordered by the king. The Beans were brutally tortured before being executed without a trial. At least, so Craven thought. He described the Bean saga as a true story, but I dug a little deeper. It seems most historians disagree. The various accounts of the Bean clan differ by wild amounts of time, like centuries. And so the Beans are regarded more as mythical figures, like King Arthur. Still, historian Sean Thomas speculates that there's some nugget of truth here. Cannibalism was not unknown in medieval Scotland, and Galloway, Scotland was a lawless place. But what about something more concrete, more modern, something decidedly human, but with observable evidence? Let's be honest, we want to know about the monsters in our own backyards, those who know of our world but choose to live on its sidelines, and sometimes without the shackles of society's laws. We want a deliverance moment.
Go store and buy a Coke, they call them dopes back in. I don't know if you ever heard anybody say that or not.
That's what we drank when I was a kid. And it was called, they had Knee-High, they had Pepsi-Cola, Royal Crown Cola. A lot of them, that was dope.
Oh, a dope. You're talking about like a soda pop, soda water, yeah. Yeah, soda water, yeah, dope.
There's disappointment here as well. When we think deliverance, we think inbred, isolated people. When we think inbred, we think of Appalachia, a cultural region of the U.S. known for crippling poverty, moonshining, clan feuding, lack of education, and impulsive acts of violence. But I'm from around Cincinnati, and my family is from the heart of Appalachia. I've got relatives in eastern Kentucky and West Virginia and further south. And these stereotypes are overblown and damaging. But don't take my word, listen to them yourself.
Everybody hears about Graham County, don't they? How good the people is, how they'll help you. I run into people I don't know, never seen them in my life, and I help them any way I can. Somebody said one day, said, "You'll get knocked in the head." I said, "Well, if I do, I'm just knocked." They're just good-hearted. Everybody you meet, just 99% of them.
Still, that's not to say no one has ever lurked in the hills or in the woods. This Redditor recalls being a kid in rural Ontario, Canada. Imagine being told not to wander too far into the woods for fear of imaginary monsters, only to learn a real one lurked out there. The Ant Hill Kids cult was established by Rock Thorold in 1977. Thorold was a charismatic member of the Seventh-day Adventists, a denomination of Protestant Christianity. He was eventually kicked out, but before that, he'd amassed a following by organizing detox seminars for smokers and alcoholics. Perhaps this seemingly good intention at the start convinced these people of his righteousness. How wrong they were. Thorold persuaded some of his followers to quit their jobs and even abandon their families and come live with him in the mountains of the Ontario wilderness. It wasn't long before his true colors came out, and he assumed the role of sadistic cult leader. He dubbed them Ant Hill Kids for how hard he made them work in constructing the cult's commune by hand. He married all 9 women of the group and fathered over 20 children. If that wasn't twisted enough, there was the abuse. Mental, physical, and emotional. Sledgehammers and chainsaws and lit stoves. Crude amateur surgeries with no anesthetic. The details here are too grisly for even this channel, but there'll be links in the description if you seek specifics. I'm warning you, it doesn't get any more dehumanizing than this. Not even the children were spared. By the late 80s, both a woman and child had died, and others were maimed and traumatized for life. Thorold was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment in '93. In 2011, 34 years after starting the Ant Hill Kids cult, Thorold was murdered in prison. We picture outlandish horrors on the fringes of society, in the uninhabited outskirts. But imagine hiking through the woods and not coming across a deformed hillbilly, but Rock Thorold, purifying his willing followers with a welding torch. And then you realize, this depravity wasn't born out here, it was born in the safe places, like this, and this, and this.